will not leave you orphaned. I am coming to you. Jesus tells his disciples in today's gospel. Last week's gospel also included a message of reassurance. Do not let your hearts be troubled. These passages are part of Jesus' final discourse. Although he knows what will happen in the following days, he also understands that his followers do not fully grasp the awfulness of what is to come. He's trying to prepare his disciples for what is to come, anticipating their grief. He's trying to assure them that the love for them that he has will not die, that they will not be alone. There is something very tender and nurturing, almost maternal, in the way in which Jesus speaks to his disciples. His promise is not to leave them alone, not to leave them comfortless, without guidance, without hope. This promise of unyielding love has sustained people throughout the ages. Today, on this sixth Sunday of Easter, we celebrate Mother's Day, on which we honor another unyielding love and care for others, one that we call motherhood. As many of you know, Mother's Day was established not to sell flowers or greeting cards, but in honor of Anne Jarvis, a dynamic woman of the 19th century. I'd like to tell you about her because although she was born nearly 200 years ago, I see her spirit and courage in mothers of our own age. Anne was a woman who saw the problems of her community and looked for solutions. Like many women of the mid-1800s, she experienced tragedy and loss. She bore 11 children over a period of 17 years. Only 4 of them survived to adulthood. The others died of diseases like measles, typhoid fever, diphtheria, diseases that have largely been relegated to history. She was, in the words of the prophet Isaiah, a woman of sorrows, acquainted with grief. A faithful Christian, Jarvis turned her grief into action by taking on the public health issues that had contributed to the death of her children and many others. She established Mother's Day work clubs to combat childhood diseases and unsanitary conditions, and to educate families about how to reduce disease and infant mortality. During the Civil War, she shifted her focus and attempted to hold her divided community together by focusing the Mother's Day work clubs on caring for wounded soldiers on both sides of the American Civil War. In 1908, her daughter started a campaign to make Mother's Day a national holiday to honor her remarkable mother and women like her who nurture and care for the human family. In 1914, President Wilson signed a proclamation designating this second Sunday in May as a national holiday to honor mothers. So here we are 100 and some years later, and the challenges that fall to mothers have changed. We don't have to worry about epidemics of typhoid fever or diphtheria, thank goodness. But many challenges are just as serious and deadly. Gun violence of all kinds in some parts of the country, the vilification of trans kids, and the rise in efforts to ban books, the ongoing crisis of maternal health in Black communities, economic justice, just to name a few. Like Anne Jarvis, 21st century mothers have organized to address issues that affect children and themselves. I find it inspiring and hopeful to know that the moms of this age have taken up the fight for social justice. I'd like to mention a few of, just a few of these mom-inspired organizations. As it happens, there are quite a few, so I'm highlighting just some. So gun violence continues to terrorize this country. There were 296 shootings in the past 72 hours, for those of you who weren't counting. So it's not surprising that there are numerous grassroots as well as national organizations that advocate for the end of gun violence. So Mothers Against Community Gun Violence is one of them. It is dedicated to ending the silence on community gun violence in communities of color. Founded by a woman who lost her daughter to violence, gun violence, it turned into a national movement of peace walking throughout the streets, calling on communities of color to say something when they see something that does not align with the safety of their community. Moms Demand Action, another group, summarizes its purpose quite succinctly. We are fed up with wondering whether our children will make it home alive. Sandy Hook Promise is an organization many of you may have heard of, formed by the mothers and fathers who lost children in the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting in 2012. And it too works for a future where children are free of shootings and acts of violence in their schools, in their homes, and in their communities. Giffords is a gun violence prevention organization led by former Congresswoman and mother of two, Gabrielle Giffords, who was shot at a local event for constituents in 2012. 18 other people were injured and 9 were killed. The Black Mamas Matter Alliance confronts the reality that Black women have poorer health outcomes than white women in this country. The Shades of Blue Project supports women of color before, during, and after childbirth with community resources and mental health advocacy, treatment, and support. The goal is to change the way women who have postpartum mental health issues are treated. Moms Rising advocates for cultural and legislative change around a variety of issues, including gun safety, paid family leave, and maternal justice. It played an important role in winning congressional approval of the Preventing Maternal Deaths Act in 2018. Parents face some uniquely 21st challenges in the form of book banning and prejudice against trans kids. The Freedom to Parent 21st Century Kids is a movement of mainstream moms and dads who are standing up for the freedom to decide what's best for their kids, to ensure their safety and to set them up for success. The Banned Book Club is a virtual book group that fights censorship by buying and reading books that have been taken off the shelves of certain libraries. Most of these organizations were founded by mothers who have experienced grief or loss, or who fear for the future of their children. Like Ann Jarvis, they realize that being a mother is not an isolated job. We are all affected by our communities, for better or for worse. These women are willing to engage with their community and to wrestle with tough issues. They are the hands and feet and heart of God in this world. In their work, I see the embodiment of comfort, hope, unyielding love, and I see hope for our future. As we hold all mothers in our hearts today, I would like to share this prayer by Pastor Hannah Carden. To the moms who are struggling, to the moms who are filled with incandescent joy, to the moms who are remembering children who have died and pregnancies that miscarried, to the moms who decided other parents were the best choices for their babies, to the moms who adopted those kids and loved them fierce, to those experiencing frustration or desperation in infertility, to those who knew they never wanted kids and the ways they have contributed to our shared world, to those who have mothered colleagues, mentees, neighborhood kids, and anyone who needed it, to those remembering moms no longer with us, to those moving forward from moms who did not show love or who hurt those they should have cared for. Today is a day to honor the unyielding care and love for others that we call motherhood.